Joining us to discuss these developments is Laura Makin-Isherwood, live for us from London. Laura, good evening to you and welcome. Her body has just arrived in Edinburgh. Before we get to the protocol for the funeral, talk to us about the mood of the nation across the UK.
Well, here in London, it is absolutely packed. People have been travelling from miles around now. Of course, it is the weekend. And they're here to pay respects to Her Majesty the Queen. In Green Park, which is the park next to Buckingham Palace, there are seas of flowers there. Basically, people are being asked to take their bouquets away from the front gates and place them around trees in Green Park there. That's where the bulk of the floral tributes are now being kept. And there are messages there. There are pictures from children saying how much they are happy and grateful for the offerings and the work that the Queen did to make their lives better. Here at Westminster Abbey, this is where the funeral service is going to take place, and people are coming to see this building as well. Everybody seemingly wanting to at least be in London to pay some form of tribute to the work that the Queen did over her 70 years on the reign and the entirety of her life.
Such a significant historical moment. What are the expected events until the funeral on the 19th?
Well, as you said, the coffin is now in Edinburgh. We understand that King Charles III will head to Edinburgh, where he will stay holding effectively a vigil around that coffin for a short time, spending time with it, spending time with his mother ultimately. He will then embark on a tour around the UK to the other nations, so seeing Scotland, but then also Northern Ireland and Wales too. Then the coffin will be returned to London and members of the royal family will receive it at Buckingham Palace. It will be placed in the ballroom in Buckingham Palace for those members of the royal family to spend a little time away from the cameras with Her Majesty the Queen's coffin before it will then be transported to Westminster Hall, which is just over there behind me. It will lie in state then for 4 days, where the public will be allowed to pass by it and pay their own personal tributes. That will be quiet. There will be no phones, no video, just personal times of reflection that take place in there until eventually on Monday, so a week tomorrow, the coffin will then be transported here to Westminster Abbey. There will be a procession with members of the royal family following on behind, and that is where the bulk of the funeral service will be taking place here. There will be dignitaries from around the world, presidents, prime ministers who attend, and there will be, of course, the eyes of the world watching too.
King Charles III at Buckingham Palace, we understand, meeting with religious and Commonwealth leaders. This is, of course, a significant moment for him, a role perhaps he's been playing or getting ready for a large portion of his life, but it's become real, coinciding with the brand new, prime ministership of Liz Truss, a convergence of a great deal of expectation on both their institutions. Just share with us, how this moment is so significant at a time in the UK where there is tumult on both especially on the economic front.
Yes, you're right. This is a huge shift. We have had the Queen as the only monarch that the majority of people who are alive in the United Kingdom have ever known. And we're now moving through a political shift as well with this new Prime Minister Liz Truss going into number 10. So there will be a completely new relationship being formed between the Prime Minister and the new King. Whatever conversations that they have will be private, they will be personal, they will be allowed to share things with one another that they know will not be leaked, or should not be leaked at least. And then he spoke about the Commonwealth as well. The Secretary General of the Commonwealth, Baroness Scotland, has met with King Charles III. It's not automatic that he would become the head of the Commonwealth. The Queen, of course, held that title, but it has been decided that he will now take that role on as well. And that is pretty important to the memory of his mother, because the Commonwealth was so important to Queen Elizabeth II. Basically bringing those nations together, understanding the different complexities of each society, but also boosting trade and those economic links as well. The world is currently going through a huge shift economically. We've got the war in Ukraine, of course, Russia's invasion of that nation. People are still trying to come back from the impacts of the COVID-19 pandemic as well. So it definitely feels like the world is in flux, but definitely the UK is also in flux as well. So it may take a little time to settle, but at the moment, people really are focusing on the next few days and, of course, the life of the Queen.
SABC News correspondent Laura Makin-Isherwood, thank you very much for sharing the latest there, joining us live from London.